First, I wanted the t-shirt side.
But it has a little red belt.
Sorry, did you make it out? Right, I was just saying that. So is today going to be the day when we talk about looking that way? Oh yeah. That was really satisfying. Always. I was trying to orient the map to what's going on. And I did, and it was like on the page.
And team, we're gonna get started here, but to start, we're gonna make you guys engage with each other. We read the feedback on your guys' midterm survey. You guys want some more icebreakers. I don't know if that was all of you, but what we got is more icebreakers. So Lindsay has an icebreaker that she's gonna explain to you guys, which is gonna require you to stand on in.
Okay, don't stand up quite yet. I just want to explain it. So I know that somebody mentioned that this is one of their favorite icebreakers, like beginning of the year. So we're gonna implement this. So it's a silent game. You can't talk. You have to line up in a row from largest to smallest favorite animal. And you can do any kind of acting. You cannot be verbal or make sounds. You have to act it out, no sounds. And you have to go from largest to biggest, or largest to smallest. Sorry. Largest over here, smallest over here. Yes.
Doesn't have a definite size.
Well, then pick one that does. Yes. So, does anybody have any questions on how to play? No talking. You have to act it out. Largest to smallest.
And kind of spread out. You can spread
spread
out.
out.
Social distance here
Yeah.
across the
That's
whole.
a little hard to do without that.
I didn't hear anything you said.
Okay.
It is not hard to do with your mask on.
Okay. It's not, no, you can act it out. So, okay, so here, let's do a practice round. What am I? Exactly, so I'd be over here. So it's not hard. What? Sandy? Okay, stand up. And start. No talking at all. Come down here and then start acting out your animal. Remember, largest over here, smallest over there. It can be any animal.
Wait, for what?
Largest, smallest. Hey, Chris, quiet. No, you can't do that either. Non-verbal, you have to act it out. It's part of the rules.
No, you cannot Google it. That was what we just said.
You have to act it out. Not that hard. I know it is happening. Let's go. Maybe we can scoot over a little bit. Okay, so you guys do it in order. We're gonna start smallest to biggest. A little tiny turtle, okay? Jimmy! Frogs!
Out of order.
One, that's good. Sit. Dog, that's about the end dog. Dog, 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 dog. Okay, okay, that's fine. Dog. Okay, so then you guys finished already. Dog, dog.
Cheetah.
Okay, that's.
Lion.
You're still a bit. You're still a bit.
I'm trying to
so small.
That's like there. You're bigger than a cheetah. Yeah, it's bigger than a dog. Though.
What kind of dog are we talking about? Are we talking Great Danes or Chihuahuas?
Moose, you're good. Giraffe.
Blue whale.
Okay, cool.
Blue whale.
Okay. Should we do another one?
Well,
I have another one.
yeah, let's do another one.
Alright, okay, so, we're gonna go based off of the first letter, alphabetical order of where you were born, the state you were born in, alphabetical order. Okay?
I wasn't born in a state, so I'm exempt.
No, you weren't. Where are you born? Okay, so then can't, okay, A to the Z, yeah, A to Z over here. And you also have to do it alphabetical order within the letters too.
Wait, where's the
So like if your letter starts with an I, there's multiple I states, right? Idaho, Illinois, Indiana. You have to do it in alphabetical order like that too.
Wait, are we doing states or tribes?
States. And make sure you're following alphabetical order within the state too.
Well, probably the state. Oh.
Nice, good job. Maybe that's exactly it. Okay. We're getting there.
You want us to make them?
Yeah, scoot down a little bit so we got room. Okay, so we're gonna start alphabetically over here.
You said I was born in Canada.
Yeah,
so-
you're good. Over here. What was it?
Yeah.
I-N-I-D. Y'all switch.
Louisiana.
Montana.
Montana, Oregon, Texas. I wasn't born in the United States.
Where were you born?
China.
You're over there.
You're over there.
International.
I don't know.
You're born in Canada?
No.
Where?
China.
China. Yo, that's sick, dog. Okay, cool. Good job. You get to choose again. And we can do it again too if you guys want later.
Trying to make a letter K.
Alrighty. Didn't you learn so much about each other?
Yeah.
Got your blood pumping a little bit. Okay, we're gonna do some campus and community spotlights. We're gonna do some shout outs. We already did the icebreaker. We have some updates for you guys really quick about some chemistry classes and some add drop processes. And then we're gonna jump into the campus tour. Whenever we're done with the campus tour PowerPoint, we'll close out today. So for campus and community spotlights, the lecture series that I mentioned last class, the kind of like Shakespeare's relationship with Montana, how it's impacted the area. It's with Dr. Gretchen Minton, and she's one of our English professors here, and so that's actually right after class tonight if you're interested. MSU Saturday, again, some of you are helping. Thank you so much for those of you that are getting tours. The next one, which you guys are gonna have the option of giving a campus tour at and practicing for in-service points, will be April 17th. So please mark your calendars. Then we have a opportunity posted through the PACE board, so the program and campus events board through the Office of Student Engagement that Nick mentioned last class. The PACE board is hosting a celebration of diversity at MSU. It's an online webinar, and it's going to be on Monday at 7 p.m. You can RSVP through Cats Connect, and you can also RSVP through the MSU Today calendar. That's through essentially like a facilitated, moderated conversation with the host of NPR's podcast. And then we also have cookies, conversations, and candidates, which is all about the ASMSU elections, an opportunity for you to go and learn a little bit more about the folks that are running. That's going to be on Wednesday from 11 to 1 p.m. in the library. So that is in person. Any other campus and community spotlights that we want to pop out there? Julia.
The 24th, there's like a online dorm snack where they show you how to make snacks. And then you're also like eligible for a gift card to Yeah, so
Sophomore surge event. If you're interested, there's snacks involved on 24th. 24th. Awesome. What else is happening on campus? Midterms are happening on campus, that's true. If you guys need help, obviously we talked a lot about different resources and services that are available, so hit up your study centers, hit up the writing center, the math learning center. Yeah.
There's summer housing available on campus again. It takes more than 3 credits from summer. So that's kind of like.
It's true. So we are going to be having on-campus housing available to students that are taking summer classes. So if you guys stick around, that's an option. Yes.
I have a question about that. In the email, it was like summer classes and auxiliary employees. Would being a summer orientation leader kind of support that?
I do not believe so. You stay in the residence halls during our boot camps, right? But not the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Shout out. Anybody have a shout out? Yeah.
Shout out to Oren for coming up with a bunch of nicknames for everyone.
Wow, well done, Oren. Yeah.
I haven't come up with yours yet, I'm sorry.
More to come. Things to get excited about.
There's a document. Little Google sheet.
Other shout outs.
Shout out to you and Holly for doing such a good job with MSU Saturdays.
Thank you. Shout out to Happy Saturday. I will admit, I'm really excited that I have a month between this one and the next one.
Yeah, a week was
Kind
not
of
enough.
Yeah. Okay, so some chemistry course updates. So when it comes to course registration for this summer, when you are registering students for chemistry classes, the ones that you're probably going to run into the most are Chem 121 or 141. They have decoupled the labs and the lectures. So traditionally, when you like add chemistry 121 to your cart, right, it includes the recitation, the lab, and the lecture all together. That's not something that they do across the entire Montana University system. And so they've decoupled it. So when a student goes in and adds chemistry 121, for example, they also need to go in and add 122, the lab. It won't let them check out or register if they don't have that lab, so automatically they'll know something's up, and there are going to be notifications that pop up and tell them, but it's essentially viewed as a co-rec, right? So just as if you were going to register a student for M021 and 121 together, you would essentially register a student for 121 and 122 together. Yes.
So is this something we need to be doing, registering right now?
Yeah, effective for fall 2021. So any classes that you're registering for fall.
Is there a particular reason why they're doing that?
It's more traditional across the Montana University system. So we're basically just getting in line with what everyone else in the state has been doing. Yeah.
And from what I know, it's also so if you fall in lab, you don't have to read the entire thing. My person, sorry, it's kind of a personal question. Is it just for like everything or just the ones listed?
I don't know the answer to that. These are the ones that was listed when Provost Mako sent out an email. So I assume that this is everything because it was sent to like advisors and whatnot. But that's a great question. If you run into other ones, your advisor would know. Cool. Any other questions about this piece? So just kind of keep that in mind, especially when you're running into chemistry questions. For the add drop process, for any of you that have maybe added or dropped a class since COVID began, it looked a little bit different. Previously, we used to have that like nice little form that you would walk around campus and a bazillion people would sign the form and then you would take it to Montana Hall. During COVID, we obviously didn't have that option, so they created an electronic way of doing that. It was a great pilot, but not the best way. And so now we have an actual way of doing online add drop. So after the 5th day of class until the 10th day, right, because of the 5, 10, 10 drop, whatever, 5, 10, 10, 15 drop, students basically speak to their instructor to add a class. For dropping, you're going to speak to the advisor. And then after the 15th day of class, you're still going to talk to an advisor about a W. The advisors and the instructors essentially then go in and put in a request through My Info. And then that generates the process where students can go in and sign, where they essentially process that request. So it's electronic now. There are no paper forms that anyone is walking with between buildings. So if they're adding a class, they speak to the instructor. If they're dropping a class, they speak to the advisor. And then we do have this nice new add drop course link. So if we have questions about that at all throughout the summer, you guys can always go there, and it kind of walks students through the instructions of like step 1, step 2, step 3. Yeah.
How much is going to change like the process of it all?
Hopefully improve it. You know?
So these would allow you to just go and submit it. You don't have to worry about anything, but you said you have to advisor and then.
Yeah, so when they were doing it through DocuSign, the struggle was that, I'm sure Emma heard a lot about this, the struggle essentially was that it wasn't notifying all the appropriate parties. So a student could essentially go in, request a drop form, and then the advisor or instructor would never see it. So hopefully it improves notification, which would then improve like timeliness, because we get all the parties through much quicker, and it's documented a lot better too. Yeah. Yeah, just.
And is this effective like immediately? So like for the semester as well, or are we still doing?
I'm pretty sure it's like effective now. Yes? I don't know either. I don't know either. I would say if at this point in the semester, if you're trying to drop a class with a W, you can still talk to your advisor and they would know the appropriate steps, but this for sure goes into effect for summer, for any students that are doing it. Yeah. Great question.
Just to clarify, so like before I would have had to turn in a form or do something, now I would be relying on the instructor or my advisor to turn in the form?
Correct, after you, like you meet with them or have a WebEx call with them or something, and then they go in and do it through Info. So it shows up on both of your ends, but it also allows a lot of students to have some of these conversations that have kind of been missed, right? So students will just go in, request a drop, it gets processed, but then someone's like, oh, by the way, you have no financial aid. So it kind of allows for some pieces to kind of be caught and have more of those like crucial conversations throughout the process. Cool. And with that, I will just mention, if you have not already, returner group reflections due tonight at midnight. If you haven't already done the midterm survey, make sure that you go in and do that, as well as the third day short form. The midterm exam has posted. 3 folks had already taken it as of today. They got great scores. So make sure that you go in and do that. Because it's up all week, we will not be extending the deadline on this one. And then the Best of Bozeman, we're practicing on Tuesday, and then we're going to be doing everything turned in on D2L by Thursday. So Thursday at midnight. Any questions about any of those assignments? Okay, let's do SnapCap right now, and then we'll do the campus tour.
I like to call this bag the chaos bag because it just has snack pack written all over it. And there's also a hidden little thing on here.
I think this is free right.
It is. Yeah, that is great. But who won snack pack last time?
I think M did.
Just go up there and ask some sweet questions.
Isn't caught to sit down.
Photograph? Yeah. Photograph?
Again, how about Sal?
What's FSO?
Returning story life. Oh my goodness.
You are or aren't?
Are not. Sit down. If you, yeah. If you're not in FSLC, sit down. If you have an exec position within your FSL house, stay standing. 3.
Do you have more people from
Keep
FSL?
standing if you're I don't know. Chris? What? But, go.
I don't think any of them do.
Yeah.
No, I don't think any of them have a job on campus.
Yes. Yes.
Keep standing if you have a job on campus.
If you have a job on campus, stay standing. Hey, Trisha!
You didn't want me to win.
Well, he couldn't think of anything, so I helped him. Okay, cool. So how many of you guys have,
Hey, listen up.
how many of you guys have either given a campus tour or been on a campus tour recently? Wow.
Yay!
Wow. Most of you are advocates, but I'm so proud anyways. So this is going to be everything that you might want to talk about on a campus tour. Something that Shannon wanted me to mention is that the route that's handed out to you guys is the standard advocate tour route. And that's kind of the way that I'm going to be working through all these buildings, all these facts. But during the summer, you can manipulate this to whatever your students want to see. As long as you have the correct information, as long as you're telling them, you know, the right things about the buildings and actually giving them a good tour, you can go any route. It doesn't matter. You don't have to stick to this route that we handed out. That's just the route we're going to follow for if you go on any campus tours this semester with somebody in the class, and also for the scavenger hunt and the campus tour practice that we're going to do. That's the route that you're going to follow. But in the summertime, you don't necessarily have to follow this route. It's just a good practice, a good way to practice and build a good foundation for your campus tour. So Bree's going to cover some of the basic information just about a campus tour for those of you who've never given one and don't really know what it is. And then I will talk about the buildings and all that cool stuff. Cool. This is me. Yeah, that's Bree giving a tour in 2018. Okay, so you guys should have all also gotten a packet that has the slides from this PowerPoint. So if you want to add notes just directly to that, feel free to do so. You don't have to write your own. You also got this picture of the tour route. So basically it's like a zigzag shape around campus. You're not hitting every single square inch of campus because that's a lot. So it's just a general circle, and you'll point to buildings that are, you know, kind of farther away. It is open to adaptations. So if there's like common areas of interest, like the sub, renovations of the fitness center, library, all of that sort of stuff. So you can talk about that, adapt it to how you want. And then listen to what your audience is. So like if your audience is all thinking of like one certain major, which like maybe is probably what's going to happen in the summer. You know, you can address certain buildings that are more like accommodating to that. Your tour sizes depends. I'm not entirely sure what it's going to look like this summer. Sometimes you can have super small groups with only like a parent and a student, or you can have like super large groups. In the summer though, typically you're just going to give it with your students. If you do morning tours before we start our orientation events, that's going to be with like parents included. But like it says, it's probably just going to consist of your orientation group this summer. So to prepare before your tour, remember that like most of the students probably have never been here, which is why they're going on a tour. So with that, you don't want to use abbreviations like the sub, the VCB. You want to say the Strand Union Building, the Visual Communications Building, just so that they understand what those are, because if you just hear the sub, you're not going to know that it's the Student Union Building. So explain it, and then you can use the abbreviation after. And this says you have 45 minutes to an hour, so this is like a general advocate tour, 45 minutes to an hour. But in the summer, if you're just walking around with your tour group, you don't probably have to spend this amount of time. You know, you can just point out some buildings as you're walking to and from, but just know that is the general amount that it typically is. You're probably gonna get some questions. Sometimes you go on tours and like absolutely nobody asks you questions, and it's kind of sad. It's very nice when people ask you questions. If you don't know the answer though, don't make something up. We kind of went over this in the Best Foot Forward presentation. Don't lie to them or like pretend like you know the answer if you truly don't. Point them to someone that will, and you can even mention, you know, when you're walking around on your tour, like, if you had a question about housing, this is where the Office of Residence Life is located. That's where you'll run ahead after the tour, maybe ask them some questions. And then just make sure you know the answer to that question after your tour, because you might get asked it again. As you're walking through campus, there's probably going to be some spots where, you know, you just walk in and you're like, what do I talk about? Small talk. Good things to talk about. If you see a streamline bus like driving around during your tour, just point it out and be like, that's the streamline. You can also mention like different things around Bozeman. So like the population, just fun facts, you know, that you'll know from your Best of Bozeman presentation. And then transportation is always a good one to hit, that we're like a super bike-friendly campus and bike-friendly town, all that sort of stuff. Or you can also talk about the traditions. This is pretty good to talk about if you're walking on like the mall. You can talk about Calapalooza, and like the NSU debut events that we go on. Or you can talk about just like NSU traditions. So like just our seasonal stuff. So like winter averages, days of sunshine. Just random facts. People love random facts that you just shout out about. Lots of outdoor opportunities. These are pretty typical. All of this is like in your Best of Bozeman presentation as well. But you've got like your Big Sky and your Bridget Bowl. A lot of kids are interested in skiing, snowboarding, so that's a good one to hit for both the parents and the students. Same with Yellowstone National Park. Super close, super easy day trip. Lots of people find that pretty neat, and it's so lucky that we're so close to it. Highlight Canyon. Not a lot of people know this either when they're coming to Bozeman. So that's something definitely to hit on, let people know that it's a super cool, popular spot with lots of hikes, lots of water activities, skiing up there as well, lots of good stuff. We also have 3 blue ribbon fly fishing rivers. That just means that it's an easy, accessible, super well-maintained rivers, so like the Gallatin, Jefferson, and the Madison, all super close to Bozeman. And we have tons of trail systems that are all easily accessible right here from the town.
So when I like to give my tours, I usually start out obviously with an introduction, if I haven't seen them before, but again, we don't really know what it's going to look like if you're going to give tours to start, or if you've already had your WhatsApp meeting by then. But introductions are always great. Ask them where they're from, what they're interested in studying, some of the hobbies they like to do, literally anything that you can get a good idea of what you should talk about throughout your tour. That's one of my biggest resources when I'm giving a tour, is asking students, what are you majoring in? What are you interested in majoring in? And then I can actually make it more personal and tell them, okay, so cool. Here's the building that you're mostly going to have advisors, resources, all that cool stuff within this building. And what does it say? Yeah, I mean, just practically what it says on this slide. Something that I did when creating this presentation was I bolded and kind of like highlighted all of the things that I think are important to mention on a tour. If you have time, you can mention the other things, but the bolded things are probably the most important ones to address on a tour. But yeah, so just introductions are super important and all that. So when I leave the Stranger Things building, I like to talk about, yeah, MSU, we've got about 16,000 students on campus, 50-50 in-state, 50-50 out-of-state, also 50-50 male-female ratio as well. And we're out of the norm for that because we have a pretty obviously large engineering college that attracts a lot of male. So we actually have very even. Usually it's more female in universities and colleges around the nation. So we're like not super normal on that end. I also like to talk about our student faculty ratio. Obviously, you don't have to cover all of these things on your first little time meeting these people. These facts are great for me to throw around. I love throwing this around, these numbers in Barnard, because Barnard, you don't really have a lot to talk about inside the building. So I say when I'm walking next to Barnard 103, I say, yeah, so MSU, this is a standard lecture hall on campus in Barnard. And we actually have a 19-to-1 student faculty ratio, or 18-to-1 student faculty ratio. So with that, you'll always have a professor, a faculty member, a staff member to answer your questions, to help you with any kind of questions you might have. So these are great to know, to just when you don't have anything to say some facts and stats, always handy. And also a lot of this is on that gray sheet that I handed out too. So if you ever need anything to say about a building, a college, that's a great sheet to kind of utilize to talk about the different colleges and departments and such. So, and then when I'm walking over to, I think you can go to the next slide. So when I'm walking over to Norma Asbjornson, I like to mention all the different new buildings that are being built. So obviously Norma Asbjornson was built in 2018. We just have New Highlight Hall that was built fall 2021. And we have American Indian Hall, which is being built currently to be scheduled to be done hopefully this fall. So I like to mention all of the new buildings that are going on to say, hey, NSU's growing because everybody's understanding how much of a fantastic university that we are. And we're growing with the student population. Parents love to hear that too, so. Okay, so Bobcat Stadium, I'm sure you've all heard about it, but, and most of you have been to it. I know a lot of you freshmen haven't, so sorry. But it's free for students to go to any home game. You just you load the ticket onto your CAT card, swipe in, and you can go in for free. That's another really nice thing that people like to hear because you don't pay anything extra to go to these fun different events to get involved. And just like AYCSS mentioned, the more involved you get, the longer you're in school and the more engaged you are. So that's another thing I want to mention. And Gold Rush too is another one. Everybody dresses up in gold, and it's a huge community event where everybody just, like I said, in the stands dresses in gold. And it's the first game of the season for the football game. So HAM Johnson, nothing is highlighted on this sheet because I never talk about it. There's not much going on in this building, but if you ever want to talk about it, these are some facts and some interesting things about the building. There is, like it says, the astronomy observatory on the roof, which is really cool. When I don't have anything else to talk about or the group is super boring, I usually mention that. But most of the time they're not boring and they always ask questions. But a lot of classroom spaces within this building.
Does know where HAM Johnson is?
Yeah, it's right next to the sub. Yeah. But so going into Norm, I like to talk about that it is the home of the Honors College. And what is the Honors College? What does it offer? Somebody tell me right now.
Separate degree program.
Separate degree. How many credits do you have to take? Between 16 to 30. Yes. Where's the office located within the building? Third floor. Perfect. These are perfect things to mention on your tour. Great. Another thing, $50 million donation from Norm Bjornson, who graduated from Montana State University. He actually started out within the COEX department of the College of Engineering and ended up being at a lower math level than he needed to be, but he graduated from MSU and was totally successful. That's also a great thing to mention for students that are a little worried about that. They've got maker spaces, different places for students to use hands-on learning, and when you're walking by these places, that's when I mention them. And also, obviously, mention the things that happen within the Honors College when you're talking about it. Another fun fact, if you have fun facts about any building, don't be afraid to throw it in there. There's O2 sensors within Norm Bjornson Hall that when it detects low oxygen levels, it injects oxygen into the air because it's found that a higher oxygen level within your study space makes it easier for you to learn. So that's something I like to mention. About Norm, that's not on this page, but yeah. And then we're walking into Barnard Hall. So Barnard Hall was recently renovated in 2015. The atrium little area that's in there for more of a study space. This is when I mentioned the third largest lecture hall on campus, or one of the three largest lecture halls on campus. Also the microfabrications lab. There I mentioned our research. We are an R1 ranked university. What does that mean? Does anybody remember from Shannon mentioning it? Okay, cool. Know what that means. But it means that we rank, we're the only university to have these three different categories from the Carnegie Foundation. So we have high undergraduate profile, high community engagement, and also high research expenditures, yeah?
Yes. Technically, being an R1 institution, it's just that we're recognized as having very high research activity.
Yes.
The first classification. But
Yes.
We're the only school in the nation to have all three.
Yes. So great things to mention. And has the third largest lecture hall. An average class size is 30. Again, where I mentioned 18 to 1 student faculty ratio in Barnard as well.
The microfabrications lab is when, if you're walking back, I always do this because I'm walking this way.
Yeah.
The lecture hall is on your right-hand side because it's the big one and you're walking all the way back. There's an orange window on your left-hand side when you round the corner. That's what the microfabrication lab is.
Yes, and in there, it's the light is orange, and I put this on the the fact to know sheet about the microfabrications lab, but it's orange in there for a reason, so it doesn't destroy the microchips that they're creating. So super cool stuff. They also wear bunny suits in there. Yeah.
Okay, what is a microfabrication?
So they create microchips. For computers, robots, literally anything.
And what's a bunny?
A bunny suit, it's a white suit that, they can't have any kind of skin, fabric, anything showing. So it's 99.9% dust free in there. So they can't have clickable pens, they can't have literally anything that creates dust because it'll destroy the little microchips that they're working on. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's something that I like to mention because everybody finds it super interesting. If you're lucky, people will be working in there, and like wave to you. So that's happened to me a few times and it's super fun. Or not cool.
And when you round that corner too, you can talk about robotics.
Yes, yep, which we don't have a robotics major, but we do have a mechatronics minor that you can get. And we have like a super, super crazy robotics program. They're like ranked super high in the nation every single year. And we don't even have a robotics major, so that's also something really cool to mention. And then, you know, the next one. The next one is that we're gonna walk into is Cobley Hall. So this is where we have the one-of-a-kind snow science laboratory in the nation. Really, there's nothing else like it, and that is housed within Cobley Hall. I like to mention it for our students who are really interested in like skiing and snowboarding and the mountains and such. And it says, yeah, Sub-Zero Lab. That's the lab I'm talking about. But you won't walk by it. I like to point it out down the hall. And I like to mention, obviously, all of these different resources if I have time. Another thing is that just to get a little laugh out of the parents, which is mainly the parents, I mentioned that our engineers are the smartest ones. We like to think that they're the smartest ones on campus because they connected all 3 of their buildings via hallway, so they didn't have to go outside in like the treacherous winter weather and all that. So that's another fun thing you can mention. And then obviously, all of these different things that they mentioned throughout the honors or the engineering presentation, engineering without borders, engineering ambassadors, women of society of women in engineering, all of that cool stuff. If you have people who are interested in engineering, great things to mention. But again, if we're just doing a broad tour, it's really hard to get super in depth with a lot of things. But if you want to get specific, these are great things to know. And then Roberts Hall, again, another engineering building, and this is a great time to talk about the 3% of colleges and universities for research expenditures, our economy classification, the fact that Roberts is primarily classrooms and laboratory and computer labs for students to use. So, and it's again another Norman Instruments and College of Engineering, and they have a 96, like I said, placement rate after graduating from them this year. So. University Health Partners. What kind of services does UHP have? Shout it out.
Health services.
Health services. Good job. Counseling psychological. We've got a dentist. We can get X-rays done, blood work done. We've got a cheapest pharmacy in Bozeman. So all of these facts, great to mention. Practically covered everything on this slide. Yeah.
Like as far as I know, the conference is 83 sessions. I don't know if it changes.
Don't mention that at all.
Okay.
Don't mention that. Yeah, just don't mention it because then you get more questions and it gets dicey.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you don't get 3 sessions. You can get referred or you can stay. So it's like, it's a weird, counseling and psychological services will be in and you can ask them that specific question. But I usually don't mention it because people like to be like, oh, why does it get charged after? Doesn't mental health matter? So I'm like, no, I don't mention it. So it just like caused a lot of like just problems and such. So just, we've got CPS on the 2nd floor.
I think the big thing is it used to be entirely free, but
Yeah.
we have a lot of students right now, so sometimes it's challenging with clothes and everything. So when CPS comes, they can talk about how they've approached that in the last few years.
Yeah. Good.
We've also mentioned office public management in this moment, like being like, oh yeah, it's like write down over.
If you've got time, yeah, do it. I usually just mention UHP because that's all I really have time for, because then almost immediately, if you go to the next slide, I'm talking about different services within the Strand Union building. So disability services, the Dean of Students, the procrastinator feeder, AYCSS, the OSC, ASMSU. Obviously don't abbreviate or don't do the little acronyms or whatever they're called, but you know what I mean. Yes.
Didn't financial aid move to Montana Hall?
They did.
Yes, they did, which this was from the advocates from last semester, so bug them. But yeah, so financial aid is actually in Montana Hall, which I'll mention that when we get to it, but yeah, veto that.
Kristen?
We've also mentioned the services posted on the third floor as well.
You totally can if you have time, which is gonna get to the next slide, I think. Talked about, I know that we've got like the KY, the disc, we've got voice center. Yeah, so, yeah, it'll be on the, yeah, exactly. So if you have time to mention these things, or you have people that are super interested in these things, mention them. Because a lot of the time, like I've said, timing is a huge deal. You obviously don't want to spend all of your time standing outside of the Strand Union building talking about literally the thousands of different things going on in there. Just mention the big dogs, like DISC, AYCSS, OSE, all that. And also, like I said, if you've got free time with transitioning to buildings, transitioning from one thought to another, you can always mention these things again. Like, it's not gonna be like, you have only one time to mention it. Mention it anytime throughout your tour, just mention it if you have time. But yeah, so DISC, career internship, student services, office of financial aid, all that good stuff in the sub. Rec center, bookstore. Everybody likes to know that the bookstore is in the Strand Union building because it's just easy to get to. And then again, literally all of these things. I never have time to mention them, but they're always good to know about when you get questions. And again, river runs through it. Great thing to mention. When you're on the Centennial Wall, yes.
Do you walk through the sub or stay outside?
So that's just going to be based off of the route that you are assigned. So again, during our practice times, we're going to be, most likely you won't be walking through the sub. It's going to be mostly outside because, you know, we want to stay outdoors as much as possible. But whenever you are, like I said, having space, talk about these different resources, all that.
Big takeaway here, guys.
Yeah.
We're showing you a campus tour that you're gonna give in 45 minutes, but you're spending 2 full days with these folks, right?
Yes.
So you will be in the sub, and when you're taking, to Lindsay's point, when you're taking them to their next session, you can say like, hey, I wanna mention that if you go up these stairs on the 3rd floor, there's a lot of services, or right below us is where you can find AYCSS.
Yeah.
So like, we're gonna give you a quick overview, but to Lindsay's point, like, you might not cover all these things in a tour, but you can cover them over the course of all of orientation. And they'll also hear from a lot of these resources and services, and they're gonna be available in the online orientation. So this information is covered, it's just highlighting bits and pieces when it's most appropriate.
Exactly. So like, you know, just like Shane said. Okay, so like I said, UHP, I'll be moving on to like walking backwards towards American Indian Hall, where obviously I like to mention that it's going to be a resource for our students. And it's going to house the Native American Student Center, and it's supposed to be done, fall 2021, not spring. So it should be done by hopefully the time that they're coming to campus again for classes. And something I like to mention is that my boyfriend is an architecture student, and during one of his design classes, he got to design a bench that's going to be placed outside of the hall. And that's an example of some hands-on learning that our students get to get outside of the STEM realm. Because we've mentioned, obviously, some STEM research. But that's a great thing to mention when you're talking about any kind of arts, humanities, things that aren't super STEM.
So, if people have questions on diversity on campus, so obviously, like, Funball admitted that it, like, is something we need to work on.
Yeah.
Is this building gonna be something that we like see, like, I don't know, they'll have a diversity and inclusion office? I don't know.
So,
yes, all of those things. I'll also mention that we have DISC coming in later, and they're really great at guiding students through some of those conversations where it's really important to be transparent, but also then saying like, we are obviously working on diversity and inclusion as a whole on campus. But yes, this is obviously an awesome thing to mention, in addition to all of our different clubs, resources, all of the different things that are available.
Yes.
If you're curious about diversity and inclusion, like there's like, as Shannon said, a multitude of student groups such as like Black Student Union, American Indian Council, Voice of Latinx, just to name a couple. There's also some in specifically engineering for like Latinx students.
And like the Empower Student Center, that's for also under represented students as well. So yeah, there's a lot of
different ones. So
Yeah.
if you're interested in knowing that and wanting to talk about that there, sorry, I don't mean to step over.
No, you're fine. I usually do, but it's just like hard to give like solid numbers and like solid facts until the DIPS comes in and talks to us because like it's just hard to not, you know. But yeah, so. And then I talk about FSL, fraternity sorority life. We make up about 5% of the student population, but we make up a lot of leadership roles on campus. So it's a great way to get involved. It's always nice to mention. Also, if you have people who are interested in it, you can always direct them to one of us who are in FSL and we can talk to them a little bit further, or the Dean of Students as well. Cannon and Hackner, 2 all-female residence halls on campus, both of which you can see throughout your tour that I like to point out. Both have sinks in their rooms. Hannon has a living and learning community, what is that? A living and learning community for, what do you think?
Engineering and honors students.
Yes, perfect,
On the slide
exactly.
behind you.
Yeah, see? So, like it says, we've got living and learning communities and also all female residence halls. And then we have the quads, which are for our honors students. Usually these students like to go check them out because they're like Hogwarts schools. They're pretty cool. I usually try to mention them just briefly because a lot of the times you can't see them, but if students want to directly go see them, you can totally take them on a route and go see them. But yeah, they're usually pretty popular with the honors students, very tight knit. I think it's like 200 students from the honors college in the quads. Stanford Chapel, non-denominational chapel on campus. You can get married by Champ there. Champ the Bobcat. You get married by him. He doesn't speak, so he just holds up signs, and that's what he does. And I love to tell that joke because people love it. And I also say, if you're ever going to get married on campus, remember me and invite me. That's another thing.
I will say with that fact, you will get very mixed responses with how they react to you saying it.
Yeah.
It's either a hit or miss, they'll either laugh at it or just like stare at you in the face. Like,
Yeah.
"Why did you tell me this?"
Yeah, it's like it's you know,
Gonna feel pretty
read the room
great.
kind of thing. But yeah, obviously all these facts, stained glass. It's where a lot of our different religious groups and also non-religious groups meet for clubs. Caracol, this is our home, obviously, of Health and Human Development. Like our presenters have said before, we've got the Child Development Center, the CDC, which is right off shot. This is a good way for students to get some hands-on learning with little children and get to teach them, get to nanny, all that cool stuff, just right on campus. It's a facility for our students and faculty members to put their kids into some type of like kindergarten or like babysitting. I also like to mention, just like volunteer, they've got something called the bod pod, which like measures your BMI, your water intake, all that cool stuff for our nutrition majors. And then also within the HLD, they have a treadmill that can fit the entire ski team, and also a car. So that's also kind of fun to mention. Gallatin Hall, home of the Gallatin College. What kind of degrees did the Gallatin College offer? Shout out. Yes, associate's degree in aviation, culinary arts, interior design, all that good stuff. What did you say?
Barrier?
Yeah, I think so.
But did they also start a bonding program?
Yes, yeah, I think so. But Gallatin College was the first residence hall on campus, houses the only Air Force ROTC program in the state of Montana and Army ROTC programs. And then the Seminary Abraham Lincoln is right across the Centennial Mall. Wilson Hall, home of the College of Letters and Science. How would you describe College of Letters and Science to somebody who doesn't know?
Classes you take in high school.
Classes you take in high school, like what? History, math, any kind of like biological sciences, yes, all that. They have the Math Learning Center and the Writing Learning Center in there. What's the Math Learning Center?
Place to get help with math classes.
Good place to get help with math classes. Who is in the Math Learning Center?
Students and faculty.
Teachers.
Student, faculty, TAs, anybody teaching the course, that's gonna be in there. Writing Center, how do you do that? How do you get an appointment? Yeah, you make an appointment online. You can get help with any kind of writing within the Writing Center. Cool. JABS. So, JABS is accredited by the, obviously that we heard, the AACSB. only 5% of business colleges in the world have this accreditation, so I love to mention that. Also, they've got the Bracken Center. What's the Bracken Center? Yeah, what's the Bracken Communications Clinic? Exactly. Okay, cool. That's all I mentioned. Also, something that is very prevalent is a stop ticker. That's something to mention. If you have any funny stories about the stop ticker, seeing it for the first time, like I do, it's not funny, but you know, I have a story about it. But I like to mention it there. Moving out to the Alumni Plaza, students like to take a picture with Spirit on their first and last day here as a Bobcat. I encourage them during orientation to take a picture with Spirit while they're there. Also during orientation, I like to take a picture of my entire group in front of Spirit. I have several pictures of all of my groups that I've had ever in front of Spirit, and I love them. But yeah, so we've got Spirit Bobcat. It's a statue of our live mascot we once had years and years ago. If we wanted to make another statue, we do have the molding for it, which I learned in Advocates yesterday. So.
And to clarify, Alumni Plaza is technically the entire space around the Bobcat.
Yes.
It's like a circle, and then it's the walkway up to Montana Hall.
Yeah.
So all of those benches are in recognition of alumni who have donated to scholarships and donated to buildings. Anders, who came in, his parents have a bench, for example, that's down there. And my favorite fun fact is if you look where they currently have garbage cans, if you look below that, there is a rock that is in the shape of Montana that they have cut out, and they put an alumni foundation pin on the rock to mark Bozeman.
Wow.
Hidden Easter egg.
Yes, I like to mention that too. Yes.
Is it true that Champ also looks to the end?
Yes, that's why they put him in his location. Now it's technically like Dad's Hall is in front of him, but they basically put him in his spot because he was supposed to be staring up at Mount Baldy.
Okay. Rendezvous Dining Pavilion. All of these things, like it says, was recently built, opened in fall 2018, my first year. 25% of the food is actually locally sourced from Montana. I learned that at MSU Saturday last week. And we have an apiary that gives honey to the dining halls. That is just like through the university and through our students. So another really cool thing I want to mention. Also super sustainable, reusable cups, paper straws, composting, all that really cool stuff. We were also ranked #1 dining hall for large universities in the United States in fall 2018. Yes.
I know you probably don't know this right now. Like,
I don't know that. I think that the best person to ask that would be the residence life, probably.
Over the summer, we will be dining in the residence halls though with our students.
Yes.
So we can follow whatever protocol is in place at that point, but the overall goal of campus is to transition back to normal as much. So they'll review capacity.
You have to sell it or be honest, 'cause, like the dining hall food's good for like a week or two, but then they're gonna be eating it for a whole year. Do we tell them that, or do we like?
You don't have to say anything. That's the thing, is you don't have to say anything about your own experience if you don't want to. If they ask you about your own experience, then heck yeah, tell them. But if you don't have anything good to say, I'm like, don't say it at all. If you get questions about it, then heck yeah, answer them truthfully. But if you don't want to just bring up, yeah, our dining hall is shitty.
I'm just saying that, we're gonna tell them, oh, it's great food, or be like.
If you get asked it, sure
On
thing.
the individual point, so like, say if you really like the pasta bar they Rendezvous.
Yeah.
Say like, oh, I love the pasta bar they have, but say you like hate the salad.
Yeah.
I don't think you were ever asked to lie.
No,
During
no, no, no.
orientation,
Yeah.
you can be transparent.
Obviously.
But I think a great way of putting that right is like, there's a lot of options, some I enjoy more than others.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's
Giving a nice little positive spin to it is my favorite thing, so.
you can also mention, like, you normally, as I said, we got the union market.
Yeah.
Another option, if you wanna say like, it's dining halls, but also mention.
Also food close to campus too.
It is.
Johnstown Center. Not a lot going on for incoming freshmen to like know about, but some things I like to mention. We've got all of these different co-ed residence halls for upperclassmen. All of these, and we also have Harrison Hall, which was a dining hall at one point, but since we got Rendezvous, it's no longer a dining hall. Houses culinary arts programs through the Gallatin College. Culbertson Hall, Office of International Programs, which is, practically study abroad. The study abroad with, 250 locations in over 60 countries. Really cool thing to mention for students that are interested in it. They can go for a summer, semester, or for the year. Also, SEGA that Nick mentioned last week, or not last week, Tuesday, is also within this building, which is the Student Engagement Global Ambassador. Langford Hall, all male residence hall, also has living and learning communities with the honors and engineering colleges. They can house about 450 students, and they have obviously all these cool amenities within Langford to kind of sell it to students, because I know that it's kind of hard, wanting to live in an all one, male or female, but they've got these little things: weight room, ski lounge, ski wax room, and a computer room. Also, Hannon and Hafner both, I know Hannon has a weight room in it. I don't know about Hafner, but. So the CBD, chemistry, biochemistry building, it's primarily a research facility for chemistry and biochemistry, was built fully on grants, so no student money was used to build this building. And then this is also a great place to mention undergraduate research if you haven't before, and also how it's built into our core 2.0, which is what, 12%, 12.5% of your degree. So great way to mention that. And then we go Linfield Hall, first building with running water and electricity. That's how I like to move things into Linfield. I say, this is the first building to have running water. College of Agriculture, right? Also, some things that I like to mention within the College of Agriculture, the Bart Farm, and the equine, pavilion, livestock management area, and then the harvest garden, all of which are within the College of Agriculture for our ag students to get some hands-on learning. Hands-on experience. Montana Hall, Holt, Office of the President, Registrar, Student Accounts, Payroll, Provost of Administration and Research, also Financial Aid, make a note of that. Financial Aid is in here. So I like to say all of your administrative needs are within Montana Hall. Also the Town of Cupola. How many of you have heard the Town of Cupola story? Okay, cool. So there's a cow put up in the cupola. And if you know the anatomy of a cow, they can walk upstairs, but they cannot walk downstairs because they're little knees. So we had a cow stuck up in the cupola. We had to crane it out, get it out. In the process, it broke the cupola. We've actually had no cupola longer than we've had a cupola. And we got an anonymous donation about how many years ago?
It was in the 80s.
It was in the 80s, so a long time ago. We got an anonymous donation for the exact amount of money to rebuild a cupola. So we built it. I think it was the Guild of Conscience, but we will never know. Currently, there is a stuffed cow up in the cupola to kind of commemorate the prank.
The cupola is the bell tower.
Yeah, the cupola is that funny part up there.
And the cow was walked up to the top as part of the prank.
Yes.
Right, so it's not like the cow wandered up there. So.
That'd be funny if you wandered up there. That'd be funny. But okay, cool.
I have a parent called Calcula, and I
Calcula. That's so fun. I love that. Okay. We got Leon Johnson, which is our home for obviously all of these departments. Also health professions advising, which is super handy for students to know. We've got the WAMI medical school program within this building, which is for students to pay in-state tuition and also get University of Washington medical school education. And that's for only Montana students. Well, not, it's Washington, Alaska, Montana. But we've got a cadaver and soil lab right next to each other downstairs. I think it's kind of funny, and I always mention it to parents. I'm like, isn't that a little ironic? No one laughs at it ever, but it's a good joke to tell anyways. But another really good example of hands-on learning within your first year at MSU, both the soils and the cadaver lab. And then larger lecture halls on campus holding over 200 people is in the shorter part. We've got Running Library, which has 4 floors. What's the first floor? Coffee shop, right? We've got a lot of study area, places you can check out. We got the IT or the technology checkout place downstairs as well. Second floor. What resources there? The AOS. There you go. Smarty Cat's up on the second floor. What's the third floor? Quiet. What's the 4th floor? Also, yep. So those are really cool things to mention. And then we also have, like it says, Writing Center, Friday cats, sophomore third up on the second floor. And you can check out a whole bunch of really cool equipment, and rental things. Yeah.
When you're talking about the library, also say that
If that's pertinent to students and if they want to know it, yeah, that's what I usually do. If people ask about like testing and all that, I mention it, but usually I don't have time. But that's a great thing to mention. Yeah, testing services downstairs. Read Hall houses college of education, health and human development, and secondary education students. 600 hours of field experience, and then 800 hours with elementary ed. And then it also has the TRIO program, which is for, like it says, low income first gen. And something that I like to mention here is students get really concerned when I say this is the home of this college, this is the home of this department. They're like, am I only going to have classes in that department, in that college? I say, no matter what you are, whatever degree program you are, you're going to have classes in every building on campus. It's not just, super specific to your degree. So. The Amber Share Call, College of Nursing. Everything just like what the nursing advisor said when he came in, mentioned the 5 different places. We have a super high placement rate for our nursing students after graduation from MSU. Can you graduate with a degree in pre-nursing?
No.
Great. Another good thing to mention here. And they have a 100% job placement rate nearly within the College of Nursing afterwards. And you can also obviously get a graduate degree in nursing as well. We are the largest nursing school in Montana. Lewis Hall Department of Microbiology and Immunology. This was named after Lewis A. Clark. Lewis, like it says, was the botanist, so we named it after him, though he didn't come through Montana. Clark was the one who came through Montana, but he was a little nerd. Didn't do any kind of ecology or botany. So we named after Lewis. We've got, like all of this says, if you have time to mention them, obviously do taxidermied animals in there. This is our home for the the Department of Microbiology and Immunology, and also our ecology. Blue Labs, it's biomedical research and environmental biology labs. It's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year lockdown. You can't get in or out without a key. Something I like to mention for students is that it houses a lot of infectious diseases, because people think that's really interesting. And I get to do my research in here, so I mentioned my research here, but obviously mention yours at any point. Blue Labs is super cool. It was the first LEED gold certified building on campus, which, does anybody know what that means?
Environmentally friendly.
Exactly. So yes, so it's creating more energy than it's using for this building. Trapeid, this is, like it says, Department of Earth Sciences, Paleontology, Snow Science, Psychology. I like to say all of the ologies you could think of. So that's in Trapeid. It's actually uneven, and that's because we had to send our resources off to the war. So we were able to finish the full building. It was supposed to have 7 windows on both sides, but it has 4 and then 7 windows. Yeah. And yeah, not much meant about Trapeid other than this, usually. Taylor Hall. Great, look at there. First building also houses 4-H. I never mention Taylor because I don't look at it, but if you end up going on a route that's looking at Taylor, mention it. Highlight Hall is the newest residence hall on campus, houses over 500 students, and broke ground in 2018 and opened this last fall. Super close to Rendezvous, super close to Langford, right off of College and 11. Yeah. The Animal Bioscience Building, Department of Animal and Brain Sciences. We've got the veterinary program similar to WAMI, but it's for veterinary students. And they have rubberized floors to diminish the sound of cowboy boots, also stilettos. So 2 things. Everybody gets a laugh out of the stiletto part because I'm like, hey, if you want to walk around with stilettos out there, you won't make a sound. Also has a elevator that can fit a cow. We've got the plant bioscience building, which is right next to it in succession. Research for plant pathologists, 2 plant biocontainment facilities in the country. Another really cool thing to mention. But yeah, again, I don't really look at the plant bioscience building on the route that we do. I just mention it very quickly that it's for our plant scientists. The next one is the Plant Growth Center. Students can mimic any climate that they want, from Alaska to Hawaii, by adjusting temperature, pressure, and humidity within each greenhouse. And students can use atrium as a study area. I know that Bree actually gets to do stuff in both of those buildings. So if you have any questions or want to know further about those buildings, Bree is a great resource to ask.
I'm growing a tree.
Yeah, she's growing a tree, which is super sick. Yeah.
What's the purple LED light?
Oh, they're just grow lights. So they're like a mixture of red and blue light. So you keep on, so your backyard has light. Yeah, it's a cool building. My favorite building. All of my classes this semester are in this building.
It's like my favorite study space. Yeah, it's on campus. It's like no one
And
knows.
it was renovated this past summer, so it's
Yeah.
very epic.
Haynes Hall, School of Art. All of the degrees are offered within the School of Art. First institution of art in Montana for here at MSU. And there are, obviously, like I said, less than 20 students in studio courses and offers a heck ton of money in scholarships a year for its art students. And then the next building in that succession is Cheever Hall. So Cheever is home for the School of Architecture, which offers a 5.5-year master's program. So that's just your 4 undergraduate years and a 1.5 years attached onto that for your master's in architecture. And again, great time to mention all of those different projects that the College of Arts and Architecture mentioned within their School of Architecture. Like they went to Nepal, Kenya, they've gone to Morocco, England, and they've done design and built all these different projects. Again, hands-on learning. Howard Hall School of Music, anybody can audition for any of these ensembles. They also have a heck ton of money, just like the School of Art. And majors and non-majors can take lessons and also receive the scholarships and be a part of the ensembles. They host usually 100 concerts annually and also have these different degree programs. The Duck Pond. So I like to mention the Duck Pond by saying these ducks are just treated so well. They have a 7 days a week, 365 days a year heated pond and an Instagram page and Facebook page all to themselves, run by the University Police Department interns, which kind of shows you how little, like how safe MSU campus is, because our interns have nothing else to do other than run an Instagram page for ducks.
I was gonna say it's also their federal ducks, so if you have to duck, you need to find them, something like that.
Yes, yeah. I say that you can get a fine called ruffling the feathers by touching the ducks. So yeah, that's, you also tell them, obviously the bread truck comes and it's terrifying when you're walking by, how all the ducks like swarm, it's really scary. I did a lot my freshman year and it's awful. Shakespeare in the Park, one of those little like super cool, unique things that happened in Bozeman, like Shannon was mentioning, and how important it has been for the MSU community and the arts and culture, all that cool stuff. So Shakespeare in the Park happens on MSU campus. Miller Dining Commons. This is a good time to mention the 5 and the 7 day meal plans for students and the differences of those, and also the fact that this was recently renovated as well the past couple of years. Office of Residence Lab is downstairs, cat card office is downstairs. Mention the cat card, what it is, what it does, why it's important, all of that. And then you can add money, and you can get it, you can use it to get into the gym and the dining hall. Also, you can get champagne, which AYCS has mentioned on Tuesday. So another really cool way to mention that. We got North and South Hedges, as well as Roski. We'll be staying in North and South Hedges, so I'm sure you won't necessarily have to mention them, but co-ed residence halls, Roski was is super unique and all circular and all that, has custom furniture, and it was like to test how people lived in an environment like that, because it's really never been done before. So Roski was like a little, I like to mention as a joke, it was a psychology experiment. And everybody went insane. I don't say that. But yeah, so Rocky and North and South. Outdoor rec. What are some cool things about outdoor rec that you guys remember that you can tell if somebody, like when you're talking about outdoor rec? Keep here.
They offer your Avalanche One program.
Yes. Yeah. Who pays for it?
Us,
In our fees.
Exactly. Who runs it?
students.
Yep. All of which very important to mention. We've got all of these different cool things, all these trips. Outdoor rec is great. Mention the things that you find interesting about outdoor rec during our presentation. That's what I do. I mention things that are super interesting to me. Then we got Yellowstone Hall, open fall 2016, has single rooms, double rooms, and also semi-suite options. Also has the Wellbeing Living and Learning Community. Great time to mention Office of Health Advancement because that's the floor. The Wellbeing floor is through the Office of Health Advancement. I live on that floor, my freshman year. And all of these really cool amenities. Yeah,
They get rid of the forward rooms.
I don't know. Yes.
On the LLC floor. What's it usually like?
Are you on the LLC, the Wellbeing one?
Yeah.
Well, usually they have vegetables and fruit that's brought to the floor once a week for students to just grab and take. Usually there's like one or two meetings a month where you talk about like different health things that's going on, like how to improve mental health, how to improve study habits, all that cool stuff. So yeah, it's usually just more meetings. I never went, so I don't really know, but it's just something optional. It wasn't required because I didn't choose to live there.
A
Okay.
lot of students do.
Yes, I did.
A lot of
I just got
students
put
opt
there.
into living there, and it's supposed to essentially promote and support healthy and mental well-being,
Yeah.
right? So a healthy lifestyle, and there's a lot of RAs that then put on programming that support that.
Yeah, I was just always too busy to go to the meetings. Otherwise, I would have. But and then I got my first semester, so
Same with like all the bulletin boards should be like, targeted towards the children.
McCall Hall, again, nothing is highlighted on here because I don't know what goes on in that building. No one does. I like to say as like a little joke, like little Area 51 thing. That's like I've never seen anybody leave. I've seen people go in but never leave. Something's happening in there, and I don't know what. They're aliens. But yeah, McCall Hall, if you've got time to mention it, do it. The next building is the Visual Communications Building. School of Film and Photo, has one of 3 photography programs in the country, and has a full dark room, and the alternative photo process. So we're like the only one that has those 2 different things. And then also a lot of our graduates get internships with Disney, PBS, all of these different things, which is really, really cool considering it's Montana and we don't have like a super, it's not like Hollywood. And the Montana PBS station is within this building, and we actually have a few professors that have a PBS show. Eric Funk, if you're curious, he had one. Black Box Theater is used for performances throughout the year. That's also something I get questions about a lot, is the Black Box Theater. Berkeley Field House was the largest stone structure when it was completed in 1955 or 57. We did get beat out shortly after, but I like to say that little flex. And houses Bobcat Festival, track meets, and the rodeo, and also has convocation and commencement for our freshmen and then our graduating seniors. Gaines Hall, which a lot of you spelled Gaines wrong on your quiz, and it bugged me. That's how you spell Gaines. So just get
It's
that.
not like gains like when you're lifting. That's how you guys can spell it.
But it's
Yeah.
gaining my knowledge when I'm there, so really I'm getting gains.
You're getting.
You're getting gains and gains, 2 different things. Anyways, so academic advising. This is probably one of the most important offices and facilities just that I like to mention for students. Super, super important because what happens in the academic advising center and why would it be important to our incoming freshmen? Pre-med, university studies. What? Pre-law, yes.
Change your major.
You change your major. Students in transition. A very important thing that I like to mention for students that are like, I don't know what I want to study. The Academic Advising Center will help you out and keep you on track most of the time. Mark Jose's Fitness Center. This is, like it says, under huge construction. And why is that? We just got a presentation on it. What?
Why?
Yeah, why is it under construction? What's going on under there? Why is it, what's going on with renovation? Yeah, how so? How are they making it better?
Adding all the things.
Yeah, adding basketball courts, making it more of a wellness center rather than just a place for meatheads to go lift weights. I go there, so, anyway, it's gonna house Conference Psychological Services, UHP, and it should be done in spring of 2023. Romney Hall, we, obviously under renovation as well, and it's repurposing to be a, more of a classroom setting, and will be able to hold 1,000 students an hour rather than just under 100 students an hour. And it's going to have Veteran Center, Disability Services, Math and Learning Centers within this building, once it's finished. And also, national champ, our only national championship for basketball, that's at home, 1929. Go Cavs, yes.
Are the math learning center, writing center moving there, or are we getting second one?
I think they're moving there. Oh. Yeah. Cool. Okay, cool. So that's the end. Usually, I am talking about Romney, and then I go to my next location to drop them out for their next presentation. And you just gave a great tour. So proud of you. Obviously, you know, you're going to be hanging out with these groups, so make sure that you're telling them what they want to hear, not what they want to hear, tell them, like, you know, where all the buildings are that they want to know about, all that good stuff.
Okay, that was pretty quick. What questions do you guys have, or what kind of areas would you like to learn more about? What clarification do you need? Yeah, Jeff?
How far is walking backwards?
Walking backwards on that hard. But I think the biggest thing is be careful when you're walking backwards sometimes, because folks do run into things, or it's like winter, for example, you can slip.
You're not walking as fast as you think.
No, it's like a good, like, this pace.
Yeah. Really just.
Yeah, Trisha?
I like to joke when I'm doing my introductions, and I like to tell my parents, like, I will walk backwards the whole time, and if I'm gonna run into something, please let me know, it will help me out a lot.
Particularly the flagpole that we used to be in the middle of Romney Oval. A lot of people used to run it.
I bumped my head on
Yeah,
the fence.
So I don't know if you like know for sure certain, but is like Johnson Center, all those folks, like, should we mention, like, this is quarantine, or should we just ignore them?
We, guys, the message for summer as of this moment is that we're trying to transition back to normal as much as it is safe and possible for students. And so, like, who's to say what fall is gonna look like in terms of, you know, vaccinations or quarantine and stuff like that. So I wouldn't mention it. If it comes up in the summer, obviously you can speak freely about, like, this is what we did last year, this is how we housed students when this came up. But I don't think that we need to go out of our way to mention that unless it's passed. Hopefully by, you know, July, we'll be in a different place.
That's my entire mentality throughout tours, is like, if it's not something that is like permanent, I don't mention it unless I get asked about it, especially with COVID things. But like, you know, with my tours, I like to mention that we're over 50% in person this semester, and that we're making strides to, like, you know, I just like everything positive spin, because people, obviously, we're living through a history, and it's really hard to, like, know what the future is gonna hold. I like to just make it positive, kind of switch everything around, just like with the OSC, what they were talking about with all these different and innovative events that they're trying to make, you know, people feel comfortable getting to know each other and all that cool stuff. So, like, if a negative question does come up, I like to always spin it and be like, hey, like, yeah, this is a crappy time, but listen to all these really cool things that are happening instead.
What other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
This is like kind of unrelated, but could anybody have an advocate a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so Advocates is a program that's hosted through the Office of Admissions, so it is through us. We essentially have tour guides that apply in the spring. So Anders or someone will come in and mention it, because we do have applications opening shortly. You apply in the spring and you're accepted in the spring, and then you would start the following semester. So you would start this fall. And it is a non-paid position unless you do tours during special events, like on the weekend, for example. But otherwise, it's volunteer based, but you do take a class similar to this. The class is Wednesdays at 4:10. And it is a 1 credit course, and you learn how to give tours, and then you sign up for a tour time that works with your schedule. Your tour time then is about an hour time commitment. So between class and ADVCAT tour, then you're about 2 hours to 3 hours a week, I would say. Other responsibilities is that our advocates usually help with MSU Fridays, for now MSU Saturdays. So you've been hearing a little bit about that. And they also help with like special events. So we have like counselor tour in the summer usually, they help with stuff like that. So kind of a fun position. You learn a lot about some of the things that we just mentioned in terms of like history, services, resources.
It's super in depth. Like I obviously covered super basic, not even like scratching the surface of most of these things. And if you're interested, like refer to the notes that we've talked about for all of these different colleges and departments that's come in, because most likely those are the things that are going to be fillers information. It's information about, and also that tour, facts to know sheet that I handed out, the gray one, it is 5 pages long, full of just facts and things that I have accumulated from all of the presentations that I think are important for you to mention or talk about, just to take from these presentations. Yeah, do you have questions, Phil? Okay. Well, I think that's super fun. I think everybody, all of you should do it. It's really fun. I love it.
I was never an advocate, but I just gave campus tours.
Fun.
I didn't start that because I started getting to it in the summer and became an advocate.
So on Thursday of this upcoming week, we're gonna divide you guys into groups, and we're gonna have you practice campus tours to other folks in the room. So you can bring your PowerPoints with you. You can essentially, we're gonna have you do some scavenger hunt kind of things that you'll be giving a tour throughout the day. So if you do want to review some of those PowerPoints or look at some of the presentations that we posted in the last few weeks to remember those things, it's really gonna help you guys on Thursday. I think the number one thing that we have heard from orientation leaders over the last 10 years is that I wish I knew how to give a campus tour more in depth or more comprehensively. And so we hope that all these presentations that we've been doing up until this point help inform you when you're giving a tour, and that these are just pieces that you can continue to add in about the facilities themselves.
And like I mentioned at the beginning of the semester, if you're nervous about campus tours, we have advocates twice a day that are willing to give tours. Me, for example, I will even just give, if you want me to give you a tour and talk with you and like walk you through it, I'm more than happy to. Just let me know. I'm like, I want you guys to be successful in giving tours because they're super nerve-wracking the first time you give them. But once you're familiar with all the information and the order that you give it, like it's so much fun. And just let me know, please. I'm begging you. I want to help you.
Tours go out every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Yeah.
I just wanna go off.
Or if you want to just like hang out with me for like 30 minutes.
Or if you want to see a campus tour with actual students
Yes.
there, I think Trisha's recommendation is great too.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Or let's see.
Or any of the advocates.
Right.
Mhm.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Have a good weekend.
Happy Thursday.
It's just not. Okay.
You go to the.
And also, I would love fun. Okay, cool.